cheers and no fears forever.
Welcome to episode 5, I believe it is now, of In the Green Room with Danny Grant. Today I have a special guest and an old friend. His name is Mike Toner, otherwise known as Irish Mike. How are you today, Mike?
I'm very good, Danny. Thank you very much.
Good to see you. I think it's been about a year. I think the last time I saw you was at Listen Out.
Was it? It's been that long, yeah. Well, got the call up from Melbourne's #1 promoter, so...
You don't refuse that, do you?
Nah. There's a line waiting for that one, so... Yeah, nah.
Self-proclaimed. I keep saying that because people think that it's real. I actually had a person from my high school when I'd started that whole thing, and she was like, "Oh, congratulations on winning #1 promoter award." I was like, thanks.
As long as it doesn't end up like in the mixed awards where you get voted #1 club and then you were closed down 6 months later.
After that, a lot of promoters were like, "Oh, well, is this a competition? Like, can we make this a competition?" I was like, "No, you can't because I've claimed it." So good luck taking it. Occasionally I'll give it to someone, but then I take it back again. Yeah, so thanks for coming down. Where are you living now?
Living in Elwood.
Yeah. So you've moved from Collingwood.
Moved from Collingwood. We got most of my crew were working Southside, staff team, and we had an office just kind of opposite Revolver for a while. But then, as the business grew over the last few years, we needed something bigger, and we've got a really nice big space now down on Inkerman Street in St Kilda. And it's like and then I've got an apartment like.
How many guys are working out of there?
There's about 6 or 7 of us now. Yeah.
How many Irish people?
Just me and Damo so far.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
But,
actually, sorry, I stand corrected because Ollie and Brian are there as well. Yeah. So they're in a couple of days a week, and
Ollie's not Irish, though, is he?
Olly Davis.
Oh, I don't think I know.
Do you know Olly Davis? Yeah, he's a DJ. Ollie's killing it at the minute. Yeah, Irish. Yeah.
Wow.
So we hunt in packs.
It's like, yeah, exactly. It's a bit of an Irish mafia thing, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Is that just pure coincidence?
Ollie and Brian. Well, me and Damo. I met Damo. He arrived in Australia about maybe, I think it was the year after me, and we just kind of met in Revolver and became really good mates.
I'll stop you for a second because I like to explain who people are. So Damon Walsh is
head of events at
Thick As Thieves.
Yeah.
And he has a long background within the Melbourne music industry from...
Absolutely.
It's too long to list the accolades. And he's worked with Mike for close on 10 years, I'd say.
Yeah, well, so me and Damo, when we first met, we became really good friends and we started DJing together. So we were like a DJ duo.
Oh, wow.
And then Damo got a job he was the booker of Wawa for quite a few years. And then I had gone out to set up Thick As Thieves. And I was probably 3 or 4 years in, and I was running some events as part of the Thick As Thieves brand.
I think we used to do them with you, maybe.
That made some of my very first events in Melbourne were with you and Kyle, you know, some of the, if you look back at the history now, like
Phil Kieran and stuff like that.
Phil Kieran.
Spectre? It was
Spectre, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. Who else? Yeah, but we
Nadestrom.
But we did the first Patrick Topping show together. And
that was amazing.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I talk about top 5 shows, and that falls in that because it was more like we'd heard a lot of his stuff, but we didn't sell out. No. And that's when I tell people that I'm like, the first Patrick Topping show we did and we're involved with Mike, and it didn't sell out, but it was amazing. And it was like you could see that bubble was about to burst any minute, and it did. I think it was like a month or 2 later he became huge.
That's right. And Patrick still credits the fact that we took a punt on him to bring him to Australia before he had any big records.
Yeah.
And he still consistently, I've seen it in interviews that he's done across the world where he's referenced.
Brings it up.
The first Revolver show was one of the best shows he's ever played, which is the
funny
show we did together.
I was talking to Matthew Butters, who's a graphic designer from Mad Creative, which is a business that I'm a part of. But I was talking to him yesterday, and he was like, I remember getting there and hearing the songs. He'd never heard of him. And he was just like, what is this? What is this? And he's like, then I had to find more. But the only way to find it was through him because he was the only one doing it.
That's right. That's right.
I remember us sharing an EP. We're giving people the EP. It was like an unreleased one. Listen to this. How good is it? Oh, that's pretty good. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
It was a weird way of promoting back then.
And then, so we had done that show, and then Patrick had gone back home. And then I think 3 or 4 months later, he released a track called Forget that was the top selling track of the year. And then,
but a lot of his back catalogue became popular after that too, though, didn't it?
Of course. Yeah. People started, hunting back for, it was like when I brought him out initially, I'd heard a track on a podcast, and it was a track of Patrick's called Any Amounts. And I was just there's something grabbed me about the track. And I said, there's something in this.
It had those Melbourne undertones, I think. So it was that's why I think he's done so well here since.
That's right. And I mean, Patrick at that stage, he didn't have an agent, and it was I was just contacting him via SoundCloud direct, and the rest is history, man.
Yeah, cool. We'll get into that a bit more later, more so the acts and the Thick As Thieves touring side of stuff. But I guess taking it back to where originally started. So obviously you're from Ireland. Like, whereabouts are you from in Ireland?
So I'm from a place called Donegal, which is in the very north.
Donegal?
Donegal.
I hang around with a guy who's actually right now, he's like one of my good friends.
Oh, really?
And they're from Donegal. So how weird is that?
Do you know where in Donegal?
I'm not sure, but their last name's Gibson.
Gibson, right. Yeah, cool. It'd be interesting to find out. Yeah, so I grew up in Donegal. I was there until I was 18, and then I went to university in Scotland, in Glasgow. And
what did you do there? What did you do at uni?
So I did a degree in applied chemistry, and then I did a postgraduate in software engineering. So while I was doing my degree and my postgrad, I'd always, I'd been DJing part-time and, going out clubbing and, starting to really develop a massive love of electronic music.
Yeah.
And then, I finished my postgraduate, and then I came out and I was working in a bank doing IT, doing software engineering, computer programming basically. And then I'd done that for about a year and a half. And then I just, like all young Irish kids, I wouldn't say I hated it, but it was almost like a rite of passage where everybody did this year in Australia. Mm-hmm. And I came to Melbourne. I decided I had a couple of friends here, and I came to Melbourne. And the first weekend I was in Melbourne, somebody said, "Oh, you need to come and check out this place called Revolver."
Yeah.
And I walked in, Boogs was playing Sunday morning, and just like that moment changed my life.
I feel like that would have happened to a lot of people, because
definitely.
I remember the first time I went to Revolver and used to get those admission tickets. I don't know now because I don't go as often. Do they still give them out?
Nah.
Yeah, so I used to get the admission ticket. And I remember just getting that admission ticket and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, this is another world sort of thing. So I think that's why it's so famous worldwide, because of that. Like, I think that you're one of maybe millions of people that have had that same experience.
I mean, Revolver's such an institution, like the stats, it's like the most Ubered destination in the whole of Australia.
Is it really?
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, people know about it everywhere,
Yeah, of course.
Everywhere I go when I travel.
It's like you say Melbourne, they say Revolver almost straight
Melbourne
away.
and dance music, it's the first question asked,
100%.
Revolver,
So you've come to Melbourne for
a 1 year.
So
I was on a 1 year work and holiday visa while I was here. I didn't want to work in my career job, so I got a job. I was working on a building site doing demolition. I was loving it, going to Revolver every weekend, see Boogs, and I ended up starting buying records in a record store called Central Station. Developed a really good friendship with
Central Station. We talked about this a few podcasts back with Dean Paps. Central Station was in CBD.
That's correct.
That was the one that off Burke Street, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, I remember this one.
So I was buying records, and I developed a really close friendship with two of the guys that worked in there. And then, long story short,
were you somehow involved in that down the track?
So, long story short, the guy the original owner, he ended up getting quite ill.
Yeah.
So Jimmy and Frosty and Jeanette, the three guys that were working there, we basically bought the business off the guy.
Yeah.
And we set it up, and then we called it Here Now.
Yeah.
Where we dropped the Central Station because we wanted our own identity.
Yeah. I remember putting that logo on our posters.
That's correct. Yeah. That's right. And then, so we were like, the record shop, it was like a bit of an institution in Melbourne for 5 or 6 years. But then, unfortunately, like with all record shops, the digital thing kicked in, and that started to kill us.
Was it fast, that?
I remember, Danny, it was so quick.
Yeah.
I remember there was 1 year we were buying, our average consignment of records was 3,000 a week. And exactly 12 months later, it was 300 a week.
Wow.
It was like, so our business dropped by 90% on records, but we were doing a lot of like ticketing and selling equipment and stuff like that. So that kept us alive. Long story short, it ended up getting to the point where it was just like, it was unsustainable to keep the business going. So, so I kind of stepped aside, and I went traveling for a little bit, and then I came back.
Did you move to America?
No.
You never went?
I went back to Ireland for about 8 months.
Okay, yeah.
And then I came back, and then, I was at college for a little bit while I was working at Here Now. And then,
So how old? So you came to when you were 18?
No. So I moved to Scotland when I was 18.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I moved to Australia when I was 26.
Okay.
And then, we had the shop then from I was about 28 till about 31, and then I went traveling for a little bit, and then I came back and I started Thick As Thieves when I was 32 now, which was just over 10 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So at what point would I have met you then? Would it have been
it was
second round? Or maybe
no, because I think we started doing events while I was still part of the shop, because we were running events.
I remember I looked at a Phil Kieran flyer the other day.
That's
and
right.
It had Here Now on it.
Yeah.
All our early stuff had Here Now on it.
Yeah, that's right. So we were running events together. That was that was probably 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
It's a while ago.
We talked about how Kyle and I used to always fight with TFU back in the day.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
that was a lot to do with it, because we wanted to do the international stuff with you.
Yeah.
And they weren't as keen, and then we ended up moving, and we started doing our shows at billboards. We had like
That's
200
right.
billboards and whatnot, which is now 170 Russell. But
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's going back. That's over 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Shows
that's
our age.
a long time. Yeah,
Yeah. And then we sort of, I guess, did that, and I think we might part ways for a bit, and then we came back with the TNC thing.
That's right.
And then you guys kind of blew up. But,
but I think getting back to it, like, so me and Damo had, we were DJ partners, and then Damo went off and he was the booker at Wawa, and I set up Thick As Thieves. And Damo obviously gained a lot of experience running events, and I was doing all this touring, and I had access to all these great acts, and I started doing a lot of the shows myself, but I'm not particularly well organized. And Damo is incredibly organized, and he's amazing at like executing a plan. So I was about 4 years in, and I think the musical direction that the Wawa owners wanted to take, it wasn't in line with where Damo wanted to go. And me and him just kind of said, like, do you want to start doing some stuff together again, And it took off. And then
I remember all this. It doesn't feel like that long ago, but it probably was.
6 years ago. And then since Damo came on then, like, the shows just got bigger and bigger, and now it's like, I mean, the stuff we're doing is decent size.
Well, 5,000, 8,000 plus.
I mean, we've got LUFT this weekend, so that'll probably be like 5,000, and then we do the Riva shows are probably like 4,000, and then we've got other ones that are in the pipeline. Patrick Topping next April, that'll be pretty big.
For sure.
So
I guess obviously you had a keen interest in dance music and electronic music beforehand, but like where did it start? Just from those early clubbing days back in?
No, even before that, I remember when I was like 13 or 14 years old, like I used to, I was doing a lot of sports stuff, and I remember always just like working out in my garage and always having this dance music on, and my mom coming out going like, what the hell is this you're listening to? Like,
what sort of stuff were you listening to back then?
Like a lot of old, like, Sasha and Digweed, prog stuff, and like,
still massive now, those guys, they're veterans.
Totally, a lot of the guys I was listening to like 25 years ago are still in the scene,
So when you landed in Australia, what was the musical difference that you kind of found?
Well,
we would have had a lag, surely.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't necessarily a lag, but I mean, the whole electro thing, that was just in the height. I mean,
that was my peak.
Yeah, that was everybody's peak. It was a great era for music, and
there was that fidget and stuff too.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Switch, Trevor Lobbies, all those guys. Yeah, I mean, that stuff was so big at the time.
And that was, we talked about it before, but it's like, that was sort of like the foundations of the Melbourne style stuff that came out was from all that music originally.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that era, probably 2003 or 4 to 2007, 8. I mean, that just, you had stuff like Kiss My Grass. It was all locals playing that was pulling 15,000 people. And that was such a significant...
Showcasing all Melbourne artists.
Absolutely.
So that was like when you were in the prime of it, when you...
Yeah, I mean, like I was DJing a Revolver every week at that stage as well. Me and Boogs struck up a really good friendship as soon as I met him, and it's ironic that now 10 years later he's like heavily involved in Thick As Thieves. When I started Thick As Thieves, it was me and Boogs. Like, and that's where the name comes from. Cool. We were trying to come up. I was gonna call it. I can't believe I'm telling you this, but I was gonna call it like Tone Arm Touring because I'm toner. And then I look back now and was like, I would have been like commercial suicide. But somebody, we were chatting to our friend Annika, and we were trying to come up with names, and she was just like, she made a comment, you and Boogs are like Thick As Thieves, and I was just like,
That's what it is.
That's it. Just that moment. Yeah.
Same thing as like Kyle. So Kyle and I with the Loud thing, similar. We came up with these names. It was like 3000 Entertainment, Red Light District Entertainment, like these lame ass names. And then we went out. Remember Dwayne Thompson? Mm-hmm. So Dwayne Thompson, we went out one night for dinner with him and to go see a movie, whatever. And me and Kyle like blah 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 talking. And he's like, can you guys shut the fuck up? He's like, he's so fucking loud. And me and Kyle just looked at each other like, bang, that's it. Like, so that's how it started. So that's all good things come to
some names. That. I remember me and Damo called our first party Circle Jerk, not realizing what it meant.
That's pretty good.
Needless to say, that one didn't work out. But.
Yeah. So you come here, and then you're passionate in music, and then how did you get into the industry, just like from going back out?
So I was really lucky in that, like when I was working in the record shop, Frosty in particular, who I was working with,
that's Andy Frost.
Andy Frost, yeah. Frosty's, like, I mean, me and Frosty are still good friends, and musically what he does now is very different to what I do.
Yeah.
But Frosty was running events back in those days, so I kind of became his.
He was like heavily involved with like Bang Gang and stuff.
Honky Tonks. That's
stuff,
right. Yeah. So, like I'd learned a lot from Frosty, and I kind of found my way in running events, knew the basics before, while we were still working together. And then, it just kind of grew from there. I started at that stage. Revolver there was nothing happening on Sunday nights, and it was really dead. And I was touring some of these acts, and I went to Revolver.
So Andy was he was the gateway into you finding everybody else and meeting everybody else.
Yeah, look, it was.
Or is it just being around and like
just being around Boogs, but also being around Frosty as well.
Yeah,
he definitely was a huge help. And something I'm incredibly
and then
grateful for.
You took a punt on yourself and.
Well, I was doing. I had a lot of connections from back home, just from DJing and clubbing. I knew Phil Kieran from back home. I knew Optimo, some of the other guys from back home. And when I was able to bring those guys out on tour, then, if they had a good tour, they would go back and tell their friends, and the word would spread. And
that's where it started off.
So I would say my strong point was probably touring over events.
Yeah.
But I learned how to do the events, and then as I say, when Damo came on, then it was like he really
to the next level.
Brought things to a new level in regard to like professionalism and marketing and finding bigger venues and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Cool. I guess because that's that part. It's like coming as an expat into a country, and there is a lot of Irish people in our industry, which is strange, but there is.
There's a lot of Irish people everywhere, though.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. But
there's 4.5 million people in Ireland. And there's 55 million Irish passports circulating throughout the world.
Yeah, I always say to them, like, where people I meet, like, obviously everybody meets Irish people a lot. And I was like, is there anyone fucking back there, mate? Like, seriously, because they're just everywhere. Yeah. But they're kind of a part of Australia now. They're like almost like it's like Australian New Zealanders. They all kind of connect together. Yeah. It's like it's everyone. If you're not Australian, if you don't have an Irish mate.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've always wondered because, like, obviously, guys, like this is left of field to bring up, but like John Hanlon too. He's an Irish guy who came over. He obviously had a lot of success with the Vici and stuff early on, which is crazy, strange. Yeah. But now he works for Sony, I think. But he's also Irish.
Yeah.
You, and then there's Damo, and then there's obviously Brian. The list goes on. But for me, it's like I've always found it super interesting how an expat can move across the world and break into an industry like ours, because I've never had the confidence to do that, and I don't think you don't see Melbourne promoters do that really.
I think, Danny, what it comes down to is like I'm a big believer in passion, and if you're passionate about something and you stick with it, you'll make it work. You know.
So maybe the Irish are more passionate than us.
I don't know if they're more passionate because there's plenty of Melbourne promoters that are out there and doing amazing things as well. But
especially at the moment, like we're sort of
it was something that like I knew I wanted to do. It's something I really enjoyed. Like if you asked me when I arrived here, can you see your career in dance music in 10 years, given the fact I'd just come out of a bank doing IT, I would have slapped you around the face and told you were tripping, But,
I wish.
But fast forward like to now, and it's like I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it's funny because I do that nostalgia thing. So sometimes to like ground myself, I guess, because you do go through, as you know, like some really extreme things like flying around the world, getting paid to do things that you think you never would be able to do, and all this kind of crazy stuff. And one of the things that I do sometimes ground myself is I try to think back of when I was 19.
Yeah.
And I'll think back and I'm like, man, I would love to be able to tell myself when I was at Summer Days, like you'll eventually play here and have your own stage and like you'll do this and do that. It's like I never would have believed it.
Absolutely.
But I think that I didn't let anyone's sort of, I guess, opinion or like what anyone said, including my families and whatnot, like this isn't a real job, this, that, whatever. I didn't let anything get in the way, and I continue on. So what you're saying is that, yeah, if I had been, I guess, anywhere, it would have gone the same way because I didn't take no for an answer. And I'm guessing you did the same.
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting because like, we had our Thick As Thieves 10th birthday back in June, and I had my family fly out for it, and like my mum, even up until a couple of years ago, was still like, when are you going to get a real job, But I had quite a nice moment. We did a big show with Patrick Topping, and we had like 4,500 people at it, and my mum, she's never had a drop of alcohol in her life, and I don't think she'd ever been in a nightclub, and I just like walked around the back of the venue and just straight up on stage. And like she was like a deer in the headlights. She was just like, "What the hell is this?"
And I was like, situation.
I was like, "Welcome to my work,"
like,
but I mean, I know she had a bit of a proud mum moment as well when she saw like the level of like production and
it would have been awesome for her.
Yeah, music wouldn't have been her bag. She listens to country and western. She's just like I think she was just like looking around to see where the instruments were, and I was like, "No, it doesn't work like that."
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like it would have been like walking into a different world, coming all the way across from literally the other side of the world. To see that would have been pretty amazing. So the other thing I wanted to bring up was your cousin. So remember years and years ago, we brought out a young guy called Ruben Keeney through Mike. We attached it to one of our tours or shows, whatever. We hung out with him a little bit, but he was like 18 maybe. He
just turned 18, yeah.
And now he's REBUKE, who has probably the most known for that song, The Pipe, which is being...
No, the big one's Along Came Polly.
Along Came Polly. Yeah. The Pipe one is like... That's become a institution song throughout Melbourne. Like I hear it 4 times a night now.
Totally. Yeah, it's the Along Came Polly, I think, is the second highest selling dance track on Beatport of the last year. Over the only thing higher than it's Losing It by Fisher.
Yeah, wow, crazy. That's pretty big stats. So, like, tell us a little bit about that. Like, obviously, he's your cousin.
He's not a first cousin. He's like second cousin. But me and Ruben, like, you know, there's a pretty big age gap, and we have a massive family.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, we always knew each other quite well, and through the family connection. But because there's so many of us, you know, when I was like growing up, we weren't particularly close. But then when I started getting into the music industry, and I found, you know, there was this,
he was into it.
He was like 14, 15 at the time, and we connected, and Ruben was always sending me all this stuff.
But he was like releasing stuff with touring. And
yeah, that's
like
right. So I mean, he's always been like super passionate about music, and you know, he's like, I'm so proud of Ruben because you know, he's been doing this for such a long. He's 26 now, but he's been actually at it for such a long time.
Did he have like a bit of a lull time?
100%.
Because I've got him on Facebook, so from back in the early days.
Yeah,
and I sort of saw him. Looked as though he wasn't as interested, and then boom, he came back again.
I don't think that he wasn't as
or
interested.
I guess more so focusing on other things.
So he used to, when he started out, I mean, you know, you're talking like over 10 years ago, he was doing like EDM stuff, and then he kind of gradually progressed from that to like the Tool Room sound and stuff, which was kind of, you know, Tool Room's a bit like big room house, which, you know, you can almost sometimes cross over into EDM, and he had a pretty big record in Tool Room, and then. But I think after that, he was kind of like, well, I don't want to be making music that I feel I need to make to have hits. I want to do stuff I'm really into. And he's an absolute gun in the studio, so he was producing for bands and stuff as well, like an engineering. Yeah, okay. And that really helped him fine tune his craft.
Did you have much to do with it, or not really?
Nah, not really.
That's sort of even more random, isn't
it? Yeah, totally. But every time I would go home, every year I go home,
catch up with him.
Me and Ruben always had this thing. We always go out to this, like, we go to the same Chinese restaurant every year, and then we'd always go out and listen to some of his new music, and it became this running joke with my brothers and sisters, where every time I would come back after this night out with Ruben, I would always come in and go, no guys, I'm telling you, he's gonna make the big time, he's gonna make it. And then like, so it got to the stage where like I'd come back and they were like, let me guess, Mike, this is the year he's gonna make it, and I'm like, no guys, he is gonna make it. And then there was a documentary made on Ruben recently, and he talks about the moment that his life changed. He had sent tracks off to people, and he was at a wedding down in a place in Galway, which is in the south of Ireland, with his girlfriend. They were staying in like he didn't have much money. He was staying in a pretty shitty B&B. And he woke up like hungover one morning, and his feed was just full of like
going nuts.
Just everybody had tagged him. So Jamie Jones had got onto this track and played it at this huge festival, and just sent the place into a frenzy. And from then on, it was like all these big DJs started hitting them up saying, "Can I get this track?" And then the track just spread like wildfire.
It's crazy.
And now you've got people like, from what I know, like there's people like Solomon and all the big guns were playing it. Yeah. And then, you know, he also proved that he wasn't a one-hit wonder. He's backed it up with like The Pipes was the next track out, which weirdly the Pipes didn't do as well as Europe, but it was huge in America because it came out in Dirty Bird.
Well, it's huge here too.
Yeah, it's huge here too. And then now he's followed it up with a third one called Rattle, which has been
heard that too,
on Drumcode on Adam Byers' label. Yeah. So he's had just such a meteoric rise this year.
So is he touring a fair bit now?
He came out in June for my 10th birthday, which was like a proud brother moment, you know,
almost,
like it was perfect timing.
Yeah.
And it was great because we did a show at the Timber Yard with him and Boogs, which was, you know, Ruben has heard me talk about Boogs so much, being this like legendary figure, and the two of them together, and they've been in contact over the years with Ruben sending Boogs loads of music, you know. Cool. So it was that was great. And then he's coming back out at New Year, and I mean, some of the shows he's got at New Year now, he's closing Space Sydney New Year's Day. He's playing along with Green Velvet and Claptone. Cool. He was sending me pictures the other day of him in a private jet with Green Velvet. Yeah. And he's flying wearing the Thick As Thieves hoodie.
Well, it's kind of like they're kind of in tune, like a little bit.
Absolutely. And if you notice with Green Velvet, his he tends to do a lot of collaborations with young up and coming producers, and
he's like got to be the coolest guy on the planet. Sure.
Oh, totally, man.
You've done shows with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we did him at Revolver. He's an absolute legend.
Yeah,
he's a complete space cadet.
Yeah.
Like just tripper. Like what you imagine he's like, you know. But he's Green Velvet.
I'm guessing he runs in his own lane.
Oh, totally, man.
Yeah.
But he's a hero of ours, and it was like doing shows with him.
And you go back to that like old Revolver, 2004, 2005. Like anybody that works in the industry now, he's like up there for everybody. Yeah, like
totally. And you know, I mean, he as well. He probably had a little bit of a dip, but he's like one of the hottest things in dance music now. You know,
maybe it's the green mohawk.
Yeah, exactly.
So working in touring, I'm guessing you've met a lot of interesting characters, like talking about Green Velvet and Rebuke and Phil Kieran and all these other guys.
Yeah.
Over the time, like who have been some of the favorite or highlight guys that you've brought over, or some of the strangest moments or anything like that sort of happened in that space? I guess
you know something that it's something that I get asked a fair bit, but like, you know, I think there's a general perception that like a lot of DJs are like, you know, stuck up and arrogant and whatever, and like, you know, nothing could be further from the truth. I would say like 95% of the guys that I tour are just like absolutely down to earth, cool guys, appreciative of the lifestyle they have. You know, some people are obviously like, you know, a bit more particular with attention to detail than others. You know, it's weird, like the Germans, which is a bit of a stereotype, but like with timekeeping and stuff, if the driver's late, you know, they'll pull you up straight away. Not crack it, but for the most part, I mean, all my experiences with the acts we've toured has been amazing. You know, we've developed some, like, what I would say is like lifelong friendships. You know, I mean, one of the things... certain
acts you've done, like guys like Oxio, Phil Kieran.
I mean, you know, done some... like a lot, like Patrick, you know, me and Patrick, we text every day. You know,
there you go.
And we talk about like everything from like politics to health stuff. Patrick did a big... was it last year? Yeah, last year Patrick did a year completely sober. Took a break from the party scene, did all his gigs sober, and you know, that's something I had done in the past as well. And you know, we're both very much into sport and health stuff, and you know, like just keeping each other motivated. And you know, I would say most of the guys you tour are absolutely brand new. You know, so like, I mean,
if you find someone is an obscure one that isn't, do you just not tour them again?
100%. I'm not interested in working with dickheads, man. Like, you know, and I've got so many amazing people that I've got the opportunity to work with. I just
don't need to.
Just don't need to. Don't need the money. Don't need the headache. You know.
So does that make for fun traveling? Like when you because obviously you travel a lot.
You know what?
You used to do a lot more. Probably.
I used to do a lot more. I don't now. I'm kind of pretty based in Melbourne, but you know, I tend to work with the same people in each of the key cities. And I know that, for example, if I send someone to Hugh in Brisbane, they're going to get Hugh Foster. You know Hugh, they're going to get really well looked after. I know if I send someone to Chinese Laundry or Good Bar in Sydney that I've got nothing to worry about, because the guys have been doing it forever as well. So you know, like so it's just about, you know, I mean, one of the things Thick As Thieves is built around is relationships, and we've got key relationships with like artists, punters, venues, everybody, and
it's almost like a bit of a family sort of vibe.
It totally is, and money is not a factor. Sorry, I wouldn't say it's not a factor, but it's definitely not
a secondary factor.
It's the experience is way more important for us across the board than a financial.
So do you have any like key experiences? I know we talked about Ruben before and how he had that moment. Do you have some yourself that like you pinched yourself with? Like,
I mean, it was weird. I remember the very first time when Damo came on board and we were starting to do some of these bigger shows, we did and him at Brown Alley. And that moment was a moment where me and Damo kind of looked at each other and went like...
I'm pretty sure I was involved in that one.
Yeah, were you?
TNT, we did the first and him at Brown Alley.
Yeah, right.
And they were doing the hand symbol. And
yeah. But I remember, like, it's an expression where, you know, they say people were hanging off the rafters.
Yeah, I remember it.
People were hanging off the rafters. There was rafters and people were like up. And it was just the vibe. And like at that moment... It
was sweaty hot.
Boiling hot, packed. And I remember me and Damo looked at each other and went like,
"This is going to happen. Kick off."
This is.
I think we did and him, and then I think it was like dub fight after, and that's when we backed out because I guess from our end that we're full-time promoters, it was the risk was getting too high.
Yeah,
so
and Danny, you know what? Like
that's what happened. Like,
I remember we lost that show. Is still
we did like 900 tickets and we lost money.
The show that still goes down for us is like that was also a pivotal moment because that was like. The lesson there was trying not to do too much too quickly and trying to grow too big too quickly, and I think it's a key point that a lot of young promoters make. You know, you see them, they come out and they have one or two good parties and then they try and do 10 and they all flop and they lose loads of money. And like one of the things I'm very big on is slow growth at the right time. You know, at the right pace, at the right period.
There's a thing I heard the other day, someone said, it was actually T.I., that rapper. He's like, success is opportunity and experience meeting each other. And I kind of agree with that. Like you look at a lot of guys, not just in our industry, everywhere, musicians especially, they get to that point where it's like everything falls in place. Like it's an outlier experience and it kind of blows up. But Yeah, so for us, I remember, like, obviously I've always made my full-time income as a promoter.
Yeah.
So there's a passion component of it, but there's also a financial component of it. And I've got to feed my family, I've got to feed myself, I've got a mortgage, I've got bills like everybody else does. So I remember at that point, which is when that TNC brand sort of moved off, when we kind of moved away from you, which is still sort of a semi-regret to me, not because you guys blew up, just because I was so passionate about it. But I was like, maybe at that point, I think it was maybe 28, 29, I don't know. But we started to make those decisions financially. And that was the first time I'd ever done that. Like, I used to do shows and lose money just so I could meet an artist.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I stopped doing that. But yeah, the dub fight one, it was sold out, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I was close on sold out, and we all lost big coin. I'm
yeah.
I was like, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Being cool is not going to pay my bills.
I mean, Danny, I think anybody who's got to like where we get to or where you got to has probably had to cross that hump of acknowledging that like being cool does not pay the bills.
That's it. And there's a lot of people that try to, like, for sure.
And you know, like, I mean, there's other companies out there that are just like, they're so concerned with being cool, but they're in the red, and I'm like, well, you know, that's not how I want to live my life.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. Yeah.
But at the same time, you can obviously find a balance between. I think we're very lucky in that, like, you know, a lot of the bigger shows you do, you know, you can financially do well out of those, which allows us to do then a lot of breakthrough stuff that we're very passionate about, that doesn't make money, but at the same time
but it can. So you can have a Patrick Topping, someone like that, who then goes.
It's more like rule one now with us is don't lose money.
Yeah,
we'll do stuff that's like that we're really passionate about, but you know, it's like, you know, there's no point. There's no point doing stuff just for the sake of being cool and
agree.
Losing your mortgage.
I think one of the things that you guys have done, like Thick As Thieves, like looking at the come up over 10 years, is that you have taken those punts on those guys who haven't been, that other agents wouldn't have looked at, who have then turned into monsters. Yeah.
Danny, like,
and that's good taste. That's good music.
Yeah.
That is passion. Like, kind of
absolutely. And when I look at the artists that are like the biggest artists I work with are probably like Patrick, Claptone, MK, and maybe Anna. And all of those guys, their very first shows were all like small revolver shows, you know. So it's like you got to take a punt on those artists. And out of every 10 or 15 of those that you do, one of them will blow up, you know. Sure. And it's like, and
I guess you create those relationships early, then they're better. Like, they've been built on
absolutely.
And,
and you know, if you just make sure that they have a great experience when they're with you in Australia and the shows are good, you know, they're going to keep coming back working with you.
Yeah, for sure. So any other ones you want to bring up? Like any other pinch yourself moments? I know this is one that we don't care about, but like people listening do, because they're like sitting at their office job and they want to hear some crazy thing. Yeah. Like
do you know what? I wish you had given me a heads up on this, because I probably could have thought about it. I've got a memory of a sieve, man, you know. So but let me think. I might come back to that later in the podcast.
All right, cool. So the next thing is, obviously you've got excellence on the field, but excellence off the field. So I'd use the word philanthropist, and you've sort of worked in with a lot of charities, or you've given a lot of your time. I know when we met in the early days, you were sort of working at the Royal Melbourne Hospital.
I still do.
Yeah, you still do on Wednesdays, or what? I think it was
Thursday mornings. It's not,
helping out and whatnot. And so something that you've been passionate about aside from dance music. Then you've gone into the Fred Hollows thing. You've done a lot of running. Your back catalogue of like crazy experiences outside of dance is probably maybe bigger. Like, which is, I don't think you'd be one of the only people in Melbourne, maybe even not Australia, that sort of has that back catalogue.
I don't know about that. I'm like, you know,
it's some crazy things.
It's something that I'm just like giving back's always been like something that been very important to me, because I realize every morning I wake up, I'm living a dream, and you know, like
one of the lucky ones.
Definitely one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
And when I started Thick As Thieves, I don't know if you know this, but I had a moment when I was at university when I watched, there was an albino guy who had really, really bad eyesight, and he walked into a staircase landing and cracked his head, and all these guys started laughing at him, and like I was looking at it and like I lost my shit, and went over and gave them a spray, and then I went home that night and I actually got really upset by it, you know, and from that moment on, like I just had this resonating feeling of like how important your eyesight is, because you know, when I went over that day to try and console that guy, he was kind of like, oh, this shit happens to me all the time, and it crushed me, man, you know. So when I set up Thick As Thieves, me and Boogs actually started running a few shows and raising money for the guide dogs, and then I was just like
remembering that, resonating that.
Yeah, with the eyesight thing. But I think it costs about, like, it's some ridiculous figure, like 30 grand to train a guide dog.
Yeah, wow.
And then I was literally driving down Punt Road one day and I saw the sign up, it says $25 to restore the gift to sight. And I was like, what is this? And I went home and Googled it, and I got onto Fred Hollow's website. So I had a bit of an idea at that stage, you know, like that I wanted to run some events. So I was bringing out all these like big artists, and you know, there was a general, the way a lot of the other companies were running was like, you do a show, if you sell it out, you do a second show.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I decided, right, you know, if we've done a show and the show sold out, you know, we've
made the money.
We've made the money, and then I just started approaching the artists saying, like, guys, would you be prepared to do a second show? We'll give all the money to the charity. All you have to do is turn up and play. We'll market it, resource it. You know, we'll use our resources. We'll do all that for free. You just turn up and play. And
so this is the early days too. That people.
This is probably 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
So I walked into Fred Hollow's office and I said, look, you know, I really like what you guys are doing. Can I fundraise for you? And they said, how do you plan doing it? And I was like, well, I run rave parties. And they were looking at me like, who is this tripper? You know, but one of the first shows we did was with Claptone, and it was hugely successful. And I walked back in a couple of days later and I gave them a check for over 20 grand, and they were like, holy shit, you know. And then I just developed a relationship with them, and we started doing a lot of shows. And then I mean, that's just like been like a snowball that the Melbourne music community has massively got around as well, because now
we did one with Nardistrom at New Guernica.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And you know, I mean, I've lost count of the amount of shows we've done now for the foundation, but it's raised a lot of money.
Like
What's that?
In summertime, they're pretty regular. Those
totally.
Shows.
And now it's great because it's getting to the stage where, like, you know, we always do, you know, a social media photo at the end of the show. Like showing how much we raised and thanking the punters for it.
Yeah, and they're getting
but then a lot of the other artists who I've got coming have seen this and said, Mike, see, when I come to,
I want to do it.
Can I do one of these charity shows? Which is amazing, because, you know, it takes the pressure off, and you know, they work better obviously with the big name artists, and all those artists tend to come during the summer. So like during the summer we try and do a lot of that stuff. So, you know, we've been doing the shows, and then a few years back I decided to just as a bit of a personal challenge, I decided to, out of the blue, do an Ironman triathlon. And I thought I'll fundraise for that as well.
You look too healthy as you were training for it.
Yeah, I know. I was getting asked if I had a bit of a terminal illness from time to time. Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty intensive training for something like that, because you're training for 3 sports.
Yeah.
But, you know, I did it and I raised a fair bit of money. And then a few other people had said to me, you know, like, Mike, that was awesome. I might be interested in doing something like that. So I found out not long after that the Fred Hollows Foundation ran this event called Coast Trek down the coast, which was like either a trek or a run, and you could do 30 or 60k. So a few of the people that had hit me up, my friend Alana and my friend Olly, and who else was there? Chris Varsamarcus were in the first year. I said to them, guys, like, there's a 60k run. Do you want to do it? And we signed up and we did it. There was I think there was 4 of us the first year. And then the second year there was 8 of us, and then last year there was 24.
Yeah, wow. Great.
So and I mean, it was great because last year, you know, through word of mouth, some of the people that have done it, and I hope they don't mind me naming them, like Sean Rault and Benson and people like that, and like Benson came out to train. Like I
watched his progression.
The whole idea is like you start training. The run was in May, so we start training in January.
Yeah.
On Benson's first day, like he literally could not run a kilometer. And fast forward 4 months, he ran 30k, and you know, he'd raised like over $1,000 in sponsorship money. Yeah. So
he looked pretty healthy too afterwards.
Yeah, it was great. You know, and it's a great way for everybody to kind of give a bit back and get fit and healthy at the same time. And
I think one of the things that's why it's worked so well is because I guess dance has always relied around community.
Yeah.
So you've created this like sub-genre of dance community of healthiness, which didn't ever exist up until now.
This year now, like I'm trying to get like we did the Coast Trek for 3 years in a row, but just in line with doing something different this year, I'm getting 50 people. I'm hoping to get more than 50, but I've got about 38 at the moment to sign up for the Great Ocean Road Marathon. And
it's a 45k.
The whole idea is that everybody fundraises. I've said to everybody who's doing it, you have to raise a minimum of $1,000 for the foundation. So, and you know, as I said, like, you know, I've had random people hit me up going, the next time you're doing one of these runs, can you let me know? So, I'm going to do a bit of a social media push to try and get some more people soon, but I'm hoping that I'll have upward of 50, and
yeah, for sure.
You know, it's a great thing to get people who are involved in the dance music doing something healthy and getting fit, sure. And also be raising more money for the foundation.
100%. And obviously, mental health in dance industry is a pivotal conversation that kind of comes around over and over again with touring agents and promoters, and there's an unhealthy lifestyle.
You look at any dance music blog now. 50% of it's about mental health,
which is fair. Like, I think there's not a promoter that hasn't battled some form of mental health or DJ or anyone, because it's not everything goes against the grain of being healthy. Like drinking, and I remember like we have
late nights.
Yeah, we have a thing called the disco diet, like putting on weight. Like even myself, like I run, I get fit, then I get chubby again. But it's because the disco diet, because it's like once I start working nights again, I'm drinking, I'm eating out all the time. Every meeting's in a restaurant, blah 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 blah. So it's to hear those sort of initiatives that you're kind of creating in our culture is awesome. Even when I like started running, obviously I used to box and whatnot, which you were kind of very interested in throughout the whole process because you're an avid fight totally. Fan. And we obviously talk almost every time a fight's coming up. We have conversations about it and have our opinions and whatnot. But I think I remember talking to you early days. You wouldn't know this, but talking about running, and you're like, and I was like, yeah, I want to run. I want to get a bit fitter. And I knew that you ran, and I was like, Mike, like, how do I start? Like, I was sort of in a Benson situation where I don't think I could run a K. And you were like, just run away from your house.
Yeah.
You wouldn't remember this. You'd be like, just run as far away as you can from your house, because you'll get the energy to run back.
Yeah.
And I legitimately,
you have to run home.
Yeah, you have to run home. Yeah, you said that. And that was like one of the key motivators of what I did and how I got better. And then by the end of it, I was running 15, 20 kilometers before training. Yeah. So I got super fit. But it was like, you would have not known that. But that was one of the key points. I'm like, all right, what advice do I need? Just run as far away from your house as you can, because you have to run back. So run in a straight line.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than that, I guess the stuff you've done is obviously you put a lot of time into the charity stuff and all the mental health space and fitness and whatnot, like everything along
and the mental health space, like, I would say I'm lucky in that I've never really had any issues with depression or anxiety, but I've suffered really badly again from our industry with insomnia. Yeah. And it's something I've been working on over the last few years. I think when you're younger, you kind of almost wear this badge of honor where you're like, I only slept 2 hours tonight, But in hindsight, as I've got older and read more about this, you realize how bad that is for you, and how much lack of sleep can increase your susceptibility to Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah, crazy.
So it's something that I've been working on trying to fix now, and doing stuff like meditating every day has massively helped. And
sort of discuss this a little bit beforehand. So I'd love you to talk about that. The story with the robot meditation headpiece.
So I've been touring the techno DJ Anna for years, and her partner Webba as well. And as I got to know those guys, they're for like the last 5-6 years, they both meditate a lot. Yep. Anna in particular meditates 2.5 hours a day.
So where's she from?
She's Brazilian.
Okay,
they're both Brazilian.
Okay,
Yeah. And every time we'd be driving to like a festival or whatever, we'd always have these really interesting conversations about meditation. So Anna inspired me this year. You don't know this, but inspired me this year to I went to Canada and I did a 7-day intensive brain training.
Yeah, wow.
Camp.
I saw this. Yeah, I remember this.
So I was in a room effectively, I guess,
for early in the year,
in February and the whole purpose of it is you're just like looking at a screen doing these like puzzles and stuff. But what it does is like it increases the amount of alpha brainwaves that you make. So when you increase, if you imagine if you're trying to like learn something or trying to sleep or trying to be productive or trying to work out, you'll ultimately function better when you're in a state of calmness.
Okay.
And in today's world, like where everybody's running around frenzy, looking at their phone, dopamine hits, like your brain actually never relaxes. But if you can get your brain to relax, it will naturally create more alpha brain waves. That will make you better. If you imagine you sat down to read a book now and you were completely calm and relaxed versus, looking at your phone and wondering what was going on for the day. And then you read 2 pages in a calm state and you read 2 pages in an anxious state. If you walked out of this door and somebody said, what do you remember? You're obviously going to remember more in the calm state, and you get more done when you're in a calm state, and you become more productive and you're more efficient. So Anna inspired me to go and do this. It's called Biocybernaut training. in Canada. So I spent a week like kind of locked in this room doing all this stuff in my brain and increasing the amount of alpha brainwaves. And then one of the other things which, you know, we spoke about was I've started recently, probably over the last 5 or 6 months, using, it's called a Muse headband.
Yep.
So it's an electrical headband that you use it's a Bluetooth headband that you put on while you're meditating, and it basically measures your brain signals, and it tells you at any one point how long you're calm, how long you're neutral, and how long you're active.
Yep.
And it effectively gives you a score. And it sounds crazy to be like having a score on meditation.
Yeah.
But you can see yourself progressing. It's got, how it works is you put your phone on airplane mode. It's connected. There's an app that connects to the Bluetooth, and it's got like the sound of like water falling on the forest floor, and you wear the headband. And so say, for example, if you're focusing on your breath, if you start thinking about your day or your accounting or just anything that's happened in your day, the raindrops, you'll hear them getting louder.
Oh, really?
And it's like somebody tapping you in the shoulder saying, just bring your attention back to your breath. And then
That's
the
insane.
raindrops go away. And it is like, you know, the shift that I've had, and how much more I enjoy meditation when you can see yourself getting better at it. It's been huge. And it's totally correlated to like, the better my meditation has got, the better my sleep has got.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. So you've also been a big believer in like personal development. One of the other things I probably would say before that is the shift in sort of DJs 10 years ago when you're working with them to now. It's like there is a lot of people and DJs looking outside the box, very, I guess, active on health and whatnot. What's the difference you've seen like in the 10 years of like the whole industry as a whole?
I remember I had a moment actually.
Because you got guys like Sven Vath and you got Anna. The polar opposites.
I don't know if you know this. Sven Vath's completely sober now.
Did not know that.
Goes to Thailand every year, gets blood transfusions. Like
that's a 180.
He's done a 180.
Yeah.
But you know, like I remember. I mean, you know the kind of the partying lifestyle that most DJs are associated with.
Well, everyone started doing it. Like I'm sure you did. I know I did.
Yeah, and I had a moment a couple of years ago when we did a Patrick Topping show at the Shed, and there was a bunch of AFL footy players there, and I'll not go into it, but like Patrick's rider rocked up, and it was like coconut water and protein shakes and stuff like that, and all the football players were just like sideways behind the decks, and I was just like, 10 years ago, it would have been the opposite way around. You know what I mean? The footy players would have been, you know, the expectation was that they'd be living a healthy lifestyle, and the DJ would be like, fuck.
It's more commonly now. Like I'll get guys who tour or even guys from interstate. I'm like, do you want to go have beers? Do you want to do this? And I can 8 times out of 10, they're like, can we just get a coffee, or can we? I'm doing this health kick. I'm doing this.
Or can we go somewhere vegan for dinner?
Yeah,
you know,
that's it. It's like it's changed. Like it was back in the 10 years ago. It was like, they almost expected to party with you. It was a big part of like the industry. And I know that growing up, even when I did like to say what records and stuff, like to create those relationships, we're heavily involved with like partying. Whereas now it's just not like there's not. And that's why I think that for me and even yourself and other people, it's been good that we can kind of progress into that next level, because it's not about that anymore. It's,
I was obviously like, you know, involved in the industry, and I think probably living the lifestyle like that you were living as well, Danny. And then I had one year over Christmas and New Year, I had a really busy month of December, and I was out drinking every night. And I woke up on the 2nd of January, and I was like really hungover, and I was just like, something's got to change here. And I just decided that there and then. I was like, right, I'm not drinking for the rest of the year. And I didn't drink for a year. But what that did was that it was almost like a reset where I had to work and I had to DJ every weekend completely sober. But then I still wanted to go back after the end. I committed to doing a year, and I still wanted to go back at the end of the year and like have a few drinks with my mates. Yeah, of course. But from then on, I made a completely sober, conscious decision. When I'm working, I don't party or drink. Yeah. And you know, so now I've got like I still go out and have a few drinks with my mates, but I drive to work. I take the car to my events. You know,
I do it a lot now too.
It's just like they just don't mix. Maybe once or twice a year for a special occasion. You know, like maybe once at Christmas, or when we had our 10th birthday, I left the car at home and had a few drinks to celebrate with my crew.
I'm the same. I try to not do it often. Don't make a habit of it. But same thing. Like the start of the year, I woke up hungover. Wasn't even a bad one. I was just like, fuck this. Like, I'm so fucking sick of being hungover. And I had like 2.5 months off alcohol. Yeah. But it reset my relationship. You feel amazing for it. Oh, you do. But it reset my relationship with it. Now it's like, I was going to weddings and 30ths and all sort of stuff and work. And then now I'm just like, yeah, I don't feel like drinking this weekend. And I don't go, I have to because it's a wedding, or I have to because it's a mate's 30th. Now I'm like, I make that decision.
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely.
And I'm going to continue to do that every year from now. And so from 2, I'll probably want to get it to 3, but 3 months a year, every year, I want to have that gap off. So it's like reset, let my brain kind of fix itself, like get everything going back to normal, and then sort of then I can go out and do what I want.
And I think what it does as well is it puts you in the position where you know it's good to be able to go out and not drink and not be around people that are drinking, and just for you not to be drinking, just like it's good to just be comfortable in that environment.
So many people say, you would have heard it a million times, people say, oh, I can't imagine going out and not drinking. It's like, that's fucked. If you like music, or not do drugs either, but it's like, if you like music, you shouldn't care. Like I'll still be at shows that we do. Like we were doing Psytrance stuff like a year and a half ago. Like I never ever drank at one of them parties, but I'd still have the hair come back on my skin. I didn't even like Psytrance. It was just the atmosphere. I could properly soak it up because I was fully aware rather than being blind drunk or whatever. I feel like I had some of the better times because of that.
Totally. So, I went to see the Chemical Brothers live last Monday night, and it was like, I mean, I took the car, just, you know, drinking wasn't even on my radar, and I had an amazing night.
I've got a massive rule with live music now, so if I go see an artist that I really want to see, I never drink, because I feel like you get pissed, you don't enjoy it as much, like, oh man. But now it's like you go there sober, you have the best time, you remember every single part of it. So I've got this real massive thing, like, from Friends of Rom to fucking Chemical Brothers, like I'll make sure that if I'm going to specifically to see an act, I won't drink. I might have one beer, but like that's it. Like that's not the reason why I'm there. But yeah, the other one is like what we touched on before, but I stopped and kind of pulled it back, was that whole self-development thing. So I saw last year you read 100 books.
No, I didn't read 100. I committed at the start of the year to reading a book a week, which is 52 in the year, and I made it to 44. Ooh. But there was 4 or 5 of those books that were probably like 1,000 pages, so they take a month, you know. Sure, but yeah, I mean, and I've kept that going this year as well. I'll probably do another post later in the year, but I mean, it's it was a commitment to try and better myself, but also I became so aware of how much time I was spending in front of screens.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you know, and it's, I mean, like, you know, you don't need me to tell you, like, people are just glued to their phones and their laptops every day, and it's like I just started carrying a book with me pretty much everywhere. So now instead of like, you know, instead of checking my phone every 5 minutes, I'll try and just get through a few pages of a book, and you'd be surprised, you know, how quickly like you can read a book in a week. You know,
I do things like I have like detoxes too off social media. So I'll go away and I purposely go camping in somewhere that doesn't have reception. I did that on Cut Weekend, and then I had to sort of touch my phone a couple of times like over the period, but I didn't even care about it. And then I came back on the Tuesday and I was laying in my bed and I was just like, I was like an addict. Like I was literally checking every single fucking app, and I was like, "This, soak it up." Like, if I could have put it in my veins, I would have. Yeah, and I was like, "Fuck this! Like, why am I doing this?" Because like, you don't have as much control as what you'd want to have.
Absolutely. So, I've got a pretty strict like morning routine where I wake up in the morning and I go for like I have like warm lemon water and stuff, and then like I meditate, and I've got like a journal. I always write down 5 things I'm grateful for. And
I'm on that too.
And a few other things. And then, I take my dog for a walk, and then I always do like about 15 minutes of core exercises and 10, 15 minutes of stretching. Yeah. And I won't put my phone on until I've done that after. And when I start, I've been doing that for a couple of years now, but before I started it, it was like, you're fighting the urge anxiety, to get out your phone. But I'm over
Another one is you've worked at Res for 10 years. So you've worked at Res...
More than 10.
10 years?
17.
17 years.
Yeah, as long as I've been here.
Yeah, as long as you've been here. So, and not a lot of people are lucky enough to have that sort of relationship that you have with Revolver. What are some of the crazy things you've seen there? Or even like when it comes to like acts coming in and playing or anything like that?
I remember there's a couple of times there was, at the time when all the like the Carol Williams stuff was going down the underbelly, years ago, there was a guy came in, and I don't know how he got past the bouncers, but he had I don't know what the actual truth was, but somebody called the police and said to the police that this guy had a gun on him and he was in revolver, but I don't think the guy actually did. Yeah. But like we were all sitting there one Saturday morning, next thing like a fucking SWAT team just came through the doors front and back, you know. And I don't know, there must have been a bunch of people carrying random shit, because like everybody was sitting on the couches going, shit, they're here for me, and getting rid of everything they had. Yeah. But like, I mean, they just came through and like they just hauled this one guy out, and there was one time a few years ago as well, like the bouncers threw a guy out, And the guy literally, it was like on like a Thursday night or something, and Chapel Street was quite quiet. And this guy just came tearing up in his car and just tried to drive his car through the front door revolver.
Wow.
So there was a while they had these like big wooden gates on.
Yeah,
you know,
to stop people doing it.
When you're asking me about a revolver, I could
go for hours and hours.
You'd need another hour in the podcast for me to tell you all the random stuff I've seen in there. Yeah, there was a guy one day. I mean, it was a bit cruel, but like, I was playing one day, and next thing, all these people started coming up, and some dude had gone round to the pet shop and bought like 10 or 11 goldfish in bags and just left them randomly sitting around the club.
I've never seen that.
People were finding these like bags of goldfish in the club.
That's sort of become a thing though now, hasn't it? Like I've seen posts where they've seen people are dropping real random shit around Revolver.
Totally, yeah.
So what about some acts? Like obviously the relationship with acts, like I know a bit about it, but I'll let it to you explain like how people rock up and play and like how that kind of works and
I mean, you know, some of the greatest Revolver sets have been the spontaneous ones, you know. I mean, Phil, Kieran and Boogs, like Phil, it was actually the night after we did our Billboard show and we all went out partying after, and then Phil and Boogs rocked up and played for like 7 hours back to back, and you know, same with Patrick Topping, you know, he did a 10-hour set in there at one stage for charity.
Sven did one.
Sven Vath. I mean, every, like, you know, the list is just endless, and people just want to come and play there, but you know, it's...
And they play for free.
I mean, we do shows there where people buy tickets, so it's a paid show. But
when they do the rock up random,
the rock up random, they just want to play there. You know?
Do you think that culture of Revolver, because of the long term relationships they've had with the DJs, they accept that? Like people kind of rock in whenever they want. Like I remember I did a tour with TJR years ago, and he rocked up and played.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
So it was like they allow. Is it because the guys who are working are so passionate, they sort of, and their venue, they're just happy to go, everyone move off, take over our sets?
Totally. And, you know, they understand if somebody's in there that's like, that wants to play there, and it's like...
Is that like an unwritten law, or is it like actually...
No, it's not an unwritten law, but, you know, if an international, like, you know, I was playing every Sunday for like 15 years in the afternoon, and if an international had been up all night and they'd rocked in there and like I was playing, I didn't mind giving up an hour of my set just to, you know, it made their day, and, you know, it was always... good for us to say like such and such is rock.
And Nick Kelly was another one. I remember, like, there's so many people that have done it. It's almost expected now.
Yeah.
Does Skrillex do it? When I know he was there.
He was in there and he rocked up, and we were like, "No, mate, sorry, your music doesn't suit."
Imagine playing like Bangarang and Revolver.
We were like, "I know you've got a couple of Grammys, mate, but sorry."
Yeah, not today, Junior. Yeah, that's hilarious. So, obviously working in the industry for the last 10 years, plus prior to that, the 6 years prior with Revolver and whatnot. Where do you see the landscape changing? Because like in the last sort of 2 years, that mini festival thing has really kicked off. 4 years, the Bush Stuff thing's kicked off. So it progresses and progresses and progresses.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, where do you think it's going to land?
I think at the minute, I think there's too many Bush Stuffs.
Yeah.
I feel there's going to be a few casualties from that.
Yeah, agree.
I feel the economy's in a bit of trouble in general, and I feel the kids haven't got as much money. I think I can see from our events, everything's very, very price sensitive.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to cater to the fact that, like, you know, people haven't got as much money as what they had, and you know, like you've got to have a reasonable price point.
Yeah.
Like, you know, going out to a Bush Stuff, like it's like $400 in a ticket, but like the whole
plus
weekend costs you $2,000.
Yeah.
You know, by the time you add in booze and everything else. Like, you know, it's not cheap. And
the lineups for some of these things are ridiculous.
Oh, totally.
It's that whole future stereo thing. They're going at it again. Like,
just
they end up outpricing each other because they just keep going. But it's good for punters.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is, but at the same time, it probably like it spreads them across too many, and you know they're all taking numbers off each other. And but yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out over the next few years. We're not personally involved in any
of course,
camping festivals where, you know, I mean, we really enjoy doing the big one-day events. That's what's working for us, and the artists really enjoy it, you know. So hey, we're going to stay in our lane. We're not.
And then you sort of, rather than a concept-based thing, minus LUFT, you do a lot of like artist-based.
Absolutely.
So that artist-based thing, so that didn't exist. Like that's a newish kind of concept that's created.
We're doing this year in April, for example. Patrick Topping, his label is called Trick, and we're doing a Trick label party. He's hooked in a bunch of his friends who are big acts, and they're all going to do that together.
So Patrick Topping and friends, but that whole movement of like club shows, like obviously when we were doing Brett Alley and stuff like that, and then into that secondary thing, do you see that getting bigger? Because like obviously, like I'm also going back that beforehand, like when we worked together, you were the tour agent and then we were the promoters, and that was a relationship that was really regular, and now it's not. So now touring agents now are the promoters, sort of thing. So, do you feel like that's the way it's going? Like, do you agree with that? Do you see it changing? Do you see it
look,
I
mean, look, most most touring agents I know are involved in promotion in some capacity.
Or were originally.
Exactly. And there's a lot of promoters now that are trying to put tours together, so it's becoming more like a one-stop shop for everybody, as opposed to like people having, you look at, say for example, like you mentioned you had Kieran from Lucky on, like those guys. I mean, if you had
everything,
like esoteric to Will
Ultra
Sparks,
music,
Ultra,
like
labels, you name it, like it's, like, I mean,
they're like Jim's mowing of dance music.
Totally. Yeah, but I mean, they're killing it at what they're doing, so I mean, I guess, you have to kind of, I mean, a lot of people are across a lot more different roles as opposed to, when we started, as you said, you were the promoter and I was the agent.
It was pretty clear and cut. Yeah,
absolutely.
Those days.
But
So I guess now with everything changing and promoters and everybody's sort of got their hands into everything at the moment, do you feel like because of that there's a point of saturation? Like,
I mean, this year in particular, Danny, like we do a workshop every year with our, me and my team, and the word that came up more than anything was saturation, and like you've got all these,
small scale festivals,
big scale festivals. You've got these big brands like Ultra coming into the market.
There used to be three festivals, maybe. Now there's like micro festival every weekend, and then sometimes 2 or 3 in one weekend.
And I mean, you look at like Festival X and Strawberry on the same weekend.
On the Ultra one, there's Ultra, Esoteric, and another one, Pitch. It's all on the same weekend.
Golden Plains.
And Golden Plains. I'm like, the amount of talent in Australia at that point would be maybe the most ever. Like, it have to be. Like, it's retarded.
But like, in saying that, like they'll all hurt each other.
Yeah,
and it's
course,
like it's you've got to be so careful, and again, like not trying to do too much too quickly, and pick your battles. And so sometimes it's hard to do this, but sometimes the best thing you can do is do nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, because
by the way, even like myself, like, so I've had opportunities to move into that space, that next secondary space, and I did with Enter the Void and stuff. We're sort of doing 3,500, but I've stepped back completely because I'm just like, I just look at it being so saturated on like this. I don't want to be one of those casualties, and I know what they cost to do. So I'm sort of going back now and I'm working in venue. So people are like, oh, you're not making the moves, but I am. My move is that I'm playing it safe, and I'm trying to make as many nights, connections, events, concepts that I can do in that lower scale, because I think that maybe when the saturation falls backwards, I'll own that space again. Yeah, and
absolutely.
so I'll wait my time out. I've done it long enough, as of you, to see those waves sort of come and go, and those ebbs and flows.
Yeah, and one of the sad realities is people will get taken out.
Yeah, people lose serious money. That's another thing people don't think, that like, you get these people like, I hope that person does this. I never hope anyone fails. Like, because people like fully lose millions of dollars sometimes. I don't think people see that.
And Danny, and Sydney at the moment. I mean, like, but like a combination of like the government up there, they've proclaimed they've got a war on festivals, and like, every promoter has talked up there talks about like how like I personally know a guy that has lost his house.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, so I mean,
it's all fun and games as a punter, the current perspective.
The climate up there is just insane, and it's like, guys like probably the same age as me, this has been their career, are just so up against it.
It's so scary.
We're lucky in Melbourne that like the government has been quite supportive of music, but even now they're clamping down. I don't know if you saw the article in the Herald Sun last weekend where
the drug thing. Yeah, I did say
like
that.
Like Rainbow, Strawberry, all the big key festivals.
War on drugs, blah blah blah, whatever.
I mean, I don't know. I personally don't think that serves anyone any well. There's better ways the taxpayers could be spending their money.
It's a long conversation. That one.
It's a long conversation, but unfortunately, that's obviously what the government feels that they need to put their money.
It's watching the Sydney climate and like how that's changed. Being a promoter who's done this now for 13, 14 years, this is how I've bought my houses, cars, fed my family, the whole lot. Seeing that and knowing it can be taken away by legislation is fucking scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope it doesn't. I think the Melbourne is sort of, we're going the opposite of that because of they're seeing what's happening in Sydney. So fingers crossed it stays that way. So the last question I want to ask you is that I'm a young up and comer. I'm 21, right? I'm not. I wish I was, but if I was, do you see there's space at the moment in that sort of techno scene? Because it feels pretty busy right now.
It is, but there's always there's always, like, as I said at the start, if you're passionate enough, like look at Ruben. Yeah. Like, he ground at it for like 10 years until and then just, it was like he wasn't expecting that. He wasn't expecting that to happen. He's lying in his bed in a shitty B&B. And all of a sudden his feed's full of like one guy playing your track can change your life. So I mean, there'll always be new talent coming through. We need new talent coming through all the time, and you know, it's just a matter of like, unfortunately, I feel that there's a lot of very talented young producers out there at the minute who don't have the social media
which is important
charisma, and you know, then you see other artists that are like, you know, so big on social media, and you kind of listen to their music and go, like, really, you know, and it can be a little bit soul destroying, but unfortunately, that's nature of the industry, and you've got to combine the whole social media element with your with your talent now.
It's a full package now. It's not
totally
not what it used to be. What about promoters? Like if you were a Melbourne promoter trying to come up, like, and there is some young cool crews.
I mean, there's always young cool crews coming up, and you know, with a lot of those young cool crews, I mean, they start, Danny, how me and you started, which was like I, you know, when I started running my first parties, it wasn't like I want to have a career running parties.
Yeah, of course.
It was like, let's get a bunch of our mates together and let's get a room and let's just have a wild party.
Exactly.
And then, you know, if it's successful.
I have a story about me, which I haven't told yet, but it was like when I first did my party, I made $2,500. So I did a party at Circus. And I remember I got home that night, and I like $2,500 to me was like, that was like $1 million, right?
Yeah.
And I remember laying on the ground and taking photos, like laying. I was like, I fucking made it. I quit my job, and I was like this. I'm like, if I can do this like 5 times a year, like I'll be rich. But I always think about it all the time.
Probably wouldn't even cover your kids' school fees.
No, I'm lucky that I kind of got smarter. But yeah, I remember that it wasn't about that, and then I would have blown that on piss and something else.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Michael, we've got to wrap it up because we're kind of well over that hour mark now. But thanks for driving down from Elwood to the green room.
Yeah.
I appreciate having a chat with you today. It's been awesome. Yeah. And good luck in the future endeavours next year and over summer. This is, I know, your time to shine. So,
all good, my man.
Good luck,
Thanks very much for having us.
For coming down.
No worries. Cheers, bro.
Cheers, mate.